There was once a small, quiet village by the big blue sea. The people there were simple and kind. They spent their days fishing, fixing boats, and watching the waves roll in and out. But something strange, something very, very weird, happened every single year. When the moon was big and round, a full moon, a few fishermen would suddenly decide to go out into the ocean. Nobody knew why. They would leave their homes without saying much. Some didn't even say goodbye. They would quietly get into their boats, push away from the shore, and sail into the night. And then? They never came back. Not the next day. Not the next week. Never. No one ever found their boats. No one ever found their hats, or their nets, or even a single shoe. They were just gone. What's even stranger? The villagers didn't ask questions. They didn't shout or cry or call the police. They just lit small candles by the water and waited. Waited for nothing. Nobody wanted to talk about it. Nobody wanted to know the truth. Then one year, it happened to a kind man. A man with a beard and warm eyes. A boy's father. He kissed his son on the head, gave a small smile, and left without a word. He sailed out under the full moon. And just like all the others, he never came back. The boy waited by the shore, day after day, watching the waves. But the ocean stayed quiet. Too quiet. And the boy knew something was very, very wrong. Every morning, he ran to the dock, hoping to see his father's boat sailing home. Every night, he sat on the porch with his chin in his hands, staring out at the water. But the sea stayed quiet. No boat. No sound. Nothing. The boy's heart felt heavy, like it had rocks inside. He didn't want to eat. He didn't want to sleep. He just wanted his dad. One evening, while cleaning his father's room, he found something strange. It was hidden behind some old clothes and fishing nets, a dusty box made of dark wood. Inside it was a map. The paper was yellow and smelled like salt. There were strange lines drawn all over it, little X marks, and weird shapes. But the strangest thing was the note tucked inside. It was small and folded tight. The boy opened it slowly. In his father's handwriting, it said, "When the moon is full, the island appears." The boy blinked. An island? He had lived in the village his whole life and never seen any island. The sea was open and empty. No one ever talked about an island. But the full moon was coming. He decided to wait and see. The next few days felt slow and strange. People in the village looked at him with sad eyes. Some told him, "Your father was brave." Others said nothing at all. But the boy couldn't stop thinking about the island. Every night, he looked at the sky. The moon was getting rounder and brighter. It felt like something was watching. Finally, the night of the full moon came. The moon rose like a glowing eye in the sky, big and yellow and strange. The sea sparkled silver. The boy took his father's map, put on his boots, and quietly crept down to the shore. He found an old rowboat, the kind fishermen used. He tied the map to the oar with strings so it wouldn't blow away, climbed in, and began to paddle. The waves were calm, but the night felt cold. He kept looking around, hoping, afraid. And then he saw it. Out in the distance, where there was nothing before, was an island. It rose out of the water like it had been hiding all along. It was dark, with thick trees and a pale beach. No birds flew above it. No sound came from it. But it was there. His heart beat fast. His hands shook. But he kept rowing. When the boy reached the shore, the sand was soft and cool. The trees were tall and twisted. Vines hung like snakes. The air smelled sweet, like flowers, but also strange, like wet stone. He stepped into the forest. Everything was quiet. No wind. No bugs. Just his own footsteps. He walked deeper, holding the map tight. The trees grew closer together, and the leaves looked almost purple in the moonlight. Suddenly, he heard a soft sound. Hop, hop. He turned. There, on the path, were rabbits. Tiny, fluffy, white rabbits. Their fur looked like snow. Their eyes were shiny and round. They looked up at him, noses twitching. "Hello," the boy said. The rabbits didn't run. They just stared. He took a step. So did they. Another step. More rabbits appeared. From behind trees, under bushes, even from inside tree trunks. More and more rabbits. At first, the boy smiled. They looked so cute. He had never seen so many bunnies before. But then, one of them growled. It wasn't a bunny sound. It was low and deep and wrong. Another one bared its teeth. Not little rabbit teeth. Sharp teeth. Like needles. Like glass. The boy stepped back. The rabbit stepped forward. Suddenly, they jumped. Fast. Too fast. Like shadows. They scratched and bit and tore. The boy screamed and ran, dropping the map. He pushed through the trees, his heart pounding. He ran and ran until he couldn't breathe. And then, he fell. Right into a big hole. He fell right into a big hole. The fall knocked the breath out of him. When he opened his eyes, everything was dark. Thick darkness pressed in from all sides. The air was cold and smelled like wet earth and something rotten. He tried to stand, but his leg hurt. Sharp pain stabbed through it. He looked up and saw a small circle of light far above him. The hole was too deep. Too high to climb. He was trapped underground. He moved slowly, dragging his injured leg behind him. His hand brushed against something hard and sharp. He pulled back quickly. It was a small bone. Then he saw more bones, tiny skulls, finger bones, pieces of ribs, all stuck into the dirt walls. The tunnel was made of roots and bones, tangled and twisted together. His heart beat fast. He was scared. Far ahead, a dim light glowed. He limped toward it. The smell grew worse. It was thick with decay. The ground was damp, sticky with dark blood. Some bones looked fresh, broken and cracked, with red flesh hanging in shreds. At the end of the tunnel, he saw a man sitting against the wall. It was his father. The man's face was pale and dirty. His clothes were torn. He looked tired, weak, like he had been trapped for a long time. His eyes were closed, but his chest rose and fell slowly. He was alive. "Dad!" the boy cried, dropping to his knees. His father opened his eyes slowly. They were dull and shadowed, but he smiled faintly. "You shouldn't have come," the father said, his voice weak and broken. "They don't let anyone leave." "We have to get out," the boy said, gripping his father's arm. "Please, Dad. We can escape." The father shook his head. "They like to play first," he whispered. "They wait. They watch." Suddenly, from the dark tunnel behind them came a soft sound. Hop, hop, hop. The boy turned, heart pounding. Dozens of rabbits were hopping into the light. But these were not normal rabbits. Their white fur glowed faintly in the darkness. Their eyes were bright red, shining like fire. Their mouths were twisted into terrible smiles, showing sharp, yellow teeth stained with blood. Their claws were long and sharp, digging into the dirt as they moved closer. They circled the boy and his father, their red eyes glowing with hunger. The boy wanted to scream, but his voice was stuck in his throat. One rabbit jumped forward, its sharp teeth sinking into the father's arm. The father cried out in pain, blood spilling from the deep bite. More rabbits swarmed around him, biting and scratching. Their claws tore into his skin, ripping open wounds that bled dark red blood. The boy watched in horror as the rabbits bit deeper, pulling strips of flesh from his father's arm. The sound of tearing meat was wet and sickening. The father's blood soaked the roots on the ground. It dripped like thick syrup. His arm was torn raw, muscles and tendons exposed like tangled ropes. The rabbits didn't stop. They bit into his chest next, sharp teeth sinking through the thin fabric of his shirt and into warm flesh. The father's body shuddered, and he tried to push the rabbits away, but they were too many. His chest was ripped open, and the boy could see his ribs, white and shiny, through the torn skin. The rabbits' teeth scraped against bone as they gnawed and chewed. Blood sprayed out like a dark fountain. Some rabbits dragged pieces of flesh away and disappeared into the darkness with their bloody prize. The father's eyes were wide with pain and fear. The boy wanted to help, but he was frozen, too scared to move. The rabbits turned to him next, their red eyes glowing brighter. One hopped close, its mouth wet and dripping blood. It bared its teeth and smiled. The boy felt cold all over. He took a step back, then another, until he hit the wall. The rabbits closed in, their claws scratching the stone, their breath smelling like rotten meat. The boy's heart pounded so loud he thought it would burst. Suddenly, a loud sound broke the silence, a deep, angry growl. From the shadows behind the rabbits came a huge, dark shape. It was a giant wolf, with fur as black as night and eyes that burned like hot coals. The rabbits scattered, hissing and snarling as the wolf stepped forward. The boy watched as the wolf approached the father's torn body. It lowered its head and began to lick the wounds, its cold tongue cleaning away the blood. The father's breathing grew slower and softer. Then, the wolf turned to the boy, its glowing eyes full of strange kindness. "You must leave," the wolf said, voice deep and low. "Run. Don't look back." The boy didn't wait. He scrambled away through the tunnel, limping but moving as fast as he could. Behind him, the wolf's growl echoed in the dark. When he reached the hole, he looked up. The night sky was full of stars. He climbed out, gasping for fresh air. Back in the village, the people searched for him everywhere, along the beach, in the forest. They found his broken boat, drifting near the shore. No footprints led away from the water. No sign of the boy. Just one small white rabbit sitting quietly on the sand. Its red eyes watched the searchers with a cold, empty stare. Then it hopped back into the waves and disappeared. No one ever saw the boy or his father again. But every year, during the full moon, the island appears. A dark shadow rising from the sea. Waiting. Watching. Hungry.